Giugwivacordia. A big hello to you in Bray and County Wicklow from Würzburg. My name is Caroline, I'm a tour guide here, and I'd like to do a virtual tour with you today, showing you the highlights of this wonderful city that has become my second home in the past almost 40 years. So we're here on the Old Mine Bridge, and you can see in the background the fortress on the hill where there used to be a Celtic settlement 3,000 years ago. The fortress that wasn't built until the early 13th century. It was the residence of the Prince Bishop for many hundreds of years. On the other side you can see the Cupola. This is a little pilgrimage church which was built around the 1600s and later turned into a Baroque, maybe you say Baroque, church by Balthasar Neumann, a renowned architect here in Würzburg in the 18th century. The Old Mine Bridge is the oldest stone bridge in Germany today. And on both sides of it you can see the figures, the saints, which were erected just over 200 years ago. The Upper Market Square in Würzburg is a very lively place, as you can see. You also see lots of different types of architecture here, don't you? For example, the House of the Falcon, the building behind me with the wonderful Rococo architecture. Well, I say wonderful, but I don't know if everyone feels the same way about that. Unfortunately, it was burnt out in World War II and had to be rebuilt, and it was one of the first buildings they rebuilt to encourage the people of Würzburg who had lost their homes to rebuild their own homes. Behind me you can see the Chapel of St. Mary. St. Mary's Chapel is a late Gothic church. You can see many statues around it. They were done by Riemenschneider, a famous sculptor and woodcarver of the Middle Ages. St. Mary's Chapel is very big. You wonder, do you, why is it called a chapel? Well, you know the bishop did not want to have the people build a church without his permission, so he wouldn't give them a priest. So we have it now. The largest church almost in Würzburg is called a chapel. Many symbols of the bishop's power can be seen in Würzburg, and we'll go now and take a look at his major achievement. We've come now as far as the Cathedral of St. Kilian here in Würzburg. This cathedral had many predecessors, but the one you can actually see here, its foundation stone was laid in 1040. So we're talking about almost 1,000 years, St. Kilian's Cathedral here in Würzburg. So it went through many architectural periods. World War II came, it was completely burnt out. Almost completely. Parts of the old Baroque architecture, you might say Baroque architecture, remained. At the back we have the Gothic windows. However, the reconstruction of the cathedral was very controversial at the time after World War II. It was decided that they would keep anything which had survived and build basically new on top. Very controversial at the time. Christianity came to Würzburg back in the 7th century. And would you believe how? Kilian, Totnan and Coleman, 3 Irish monks, came here on missionary work and Christianized the Franks. Not everybody was happy with it. No, and this is why they died as martyrs. They only survived here for 3 years. And taking a look at the gable of the church here, you can see Kilian in the middle and Totnan and Coleman to the left and right. You recall the fortress you saw up on the hill, where the Prince Bishop lived many hundreds of years? In the 1700s, he tired of it. I think it got too old-fashioned for him. He wanted a modern building. I say he wanted to keep up with the Joneses. And who were they? The French kings. He built his residence palace here in the middle of the city of Würzburg. The The Residence Palace is a very significant Baroque, you might say Baroque palace here in Europe today. In 1981 it was domed a UNESCO World Heritage Site and receives many visitors every year. The gardens to go with it you can see in the background, and you can particularly enjoy them every summer when we have the Mozart Festival here in Würzburg. I highly recommend when you get to Würzburg, don't miss out on the Mozart Festival. So here we are, our last stop, a very special last stop for you. We're in the gardens at the foot of the fortress, where you really should come at the end of a long day in Würzburg looking at the highlights. It's the best place here to wind down, relax and just recover from your strenuous day. What do you see and what does it tell us? We're in the Wicklow garden. You've got the cross. How does this make you feel? At home perhaps? The Celtic Cross made of sandstone, which was erected in 2014. And behind me you can see the round tower. I know it's a lot smaller than the round towers in Ireland, but it's got the original Irish stone. Right, you've probably been here and celebrated St. Kilian's Day, maybe, every year on the 8th of July. And if you haven't, you certainly have to come. We have wonderful celebrations here, and you will even get an Irish whiskey here, some Irish food. So do come back and let me show you Würzburg in person. Slán go fóill.
Nous serons heureux de vous revoir à Würzburg.
We are looking so much forward to meet you again in Würzburg.
Wir freuen uns, in Würzburg wiederzusehen.